What's up? Hey, what is a fake noodle? An impasta. I'm sorry. Uh, okay. Today we're gonna talk about the Hebrew word olam. In case my corny joke was a bit much for you, we'll change topics quickly. We've gone over the Greek aion, an age or an eon. The Bible doesn't talk about eternity, not like we understand it. So, in the last video, I did bring up this word. We would expect the Hebrew to have the same meaning as the Greek. Obviously, the Hebrew came first, so that should be our foundation for the Greek as well. So today we're just going to go over some context in the Old Testament and hopefully get a clearer understanding about what did the Israelites, how did they perceive time? How do they perceive the future? How God was doing things? How were they looking at it? It's interesting. So I have my list of verses with olam. Now, before we get into the verses, I need to get into olam. And to understand a Hebrew word, I think the best way, and I use Strong's Concordance for this. And you need a concordance. It really doesn't matter what Bible translation you're using. If it's a common translation, a literal translation, you still need a concordance. And I will stress this every time I speak. You need a concordance. So I went into, this was just Strong's Concordance. That's the most popular, I think. So the Hebrew word is olam, but if you scroll down, if you're on Bible Hub, you can scroll down and it shows the verb that it's derived from. Now, what I've learned with Hebrew is that you'll have families of words that are based off of a 3-letter root word. And this root word for olam sounds very much like olam. It's alam. It's ah, like, you stub your toe and you're like, ah. And then what is it? L. Wow, I completely. Anyways, it's alam. So you have alam and olam. And olam is derived from this. Now, what does alam mean? And it says to pronounce it. I didn't want to sound like an idiot because when I try to pronounce Greek and Hebrew, it sounds horrible. So it said to stress the second part. Just say ah and then lam, like really eccentric or something. But I don't think I want to look too dumb. What does this word mean? Yeah, it's AH-LAHM. It means concealed. So when you have this root word, whatever branches off of it always in some form retains the core meaning of concealed. And there's not much to that. It's just concealed, hidden, out of sight. So then when you go to Strong's for its branch of olam, there are definitions. It gave the same definition for olam. It said it was concealed. I think obscure would be a better definition. But it is still something that it's out of your sight or beyond it. It's beyond your sight. Here's an example. I'm a big movie guy. I watch movies all the time. It's a good escape. So I was watching Pirates of the Caribbean. And I have all 5 of them. The first 3 are the best. But the last 2 were okay. But I noticed in the first one, you have Jack Sparrow at the very end. He's on the Black Pearl. And you got the music playing, and you know the credits are about to roll. And he looks at his little compass, and then he looks out, and he says, "Take me to that horizon." We know that we can see the horizon. I could be on a ship, looking as far as my eyes can see, and you could place a flag at the very last point to where my eye can perceive something. And eventually, if you sail the boat, you will get to that flag. But anything past that flag is obviously, well, I kind of already messed up my little analogy, because what I was going to say was the fifth movie, he replays the scene at the very end. The credits are about to roll, and he's on the same ship, and the music starts, and he says, "I have a rendezvous beyond my beloved horizon." That would be Olam, obscure. So what I was trying to explain before I screwed up my own little comparison, you could place a flag at your horizon and eventually reach it. But everything past the flag is Olam. It's obscure. I think that makes sense. Hey, it's a nice little Pirates of the Caribbean mention. Take me past my beloved horizon. Take me to my Olam, to my obscure. And then, of course, I might make it like a little map, or not a map, but a drawing, to explain the ages or the time periods in the scriptures. Maybe something I could get into in the future. There's 5 time periods or ages that I've counted, so we could use the Pirates of the Caribbean Black Pearl comparison. Every horizon is an age, or maybe just past the horizon, I should say, because you can still see the horizon. All right. We have a basic understanding of what the word means. It is translated eternal, forever, sometimes forever and ever. If something means eternity, like forever, why do you have to tack on and ever? No one would say eternity and eternity, or eternal and eternal. That's a redundancy. And translating these words, well, you know what? I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's look at context. Olam, where is it used? Let's look at Exodus 21:6. I bet YouTube will copyright me just for humming that song, the Pirates of the Caribbean theme. Okay, let's read the King James Version. This has to do with slaves. Exodus 21, verse 6. Then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door, or unto the doorpost. And his master shall bore his ear through with an awl. What in the world is that? An awl, a boring instrument. Okay, that sounds like fun. And he shall serve him forever. 1 second. I gotta roll these windows down. Should probably take my coat off. 1 moment. He will serve him forever. Okay. Now we know that the servant's gonna die eventually. Excuse me while I strip. Oh. I don't have any room to strip. The servant's gonna die. Now the King James translated this forever. If we had a proper understanding, good Lord, if we had a proper understanding of the word olam and the word ion, I actually wouldn't have much issue with this translation of forever. If we knew that it was a limited duration. But like I brought up, hear that wind? Forever and ever. Eternity and eternity. It doesn't make sense if we don't understand it. Let's go into our literal version. How did I just end up in a different chapter? Actually, let's look at the International Standard Version. Then his master is to bring him before the judges, and he is to bring him to the door or to the doorpost. His master is to pierce his ear with an awl, and he is to serve him permanently. So they changed it from forever to permanently. But in other places, the International Standard translates this word eternal. So they saw the context and realized, if we translate this forever, how can we explain when he dies? So let's just go to this is the concordant version of the Old Testament. You can use Young's literal as well. There's actually I think about 8 different literal translations you can use. When it comes to the Old Testament, they're similar. So this was verse 6. Then his Lord will bring him close to the Elohim, and bring him close to the door or to the jam, and his Lord will bore his ear with an awl, and he will serve him for the eon. It's a time period. So I mentioned, I have 4 other videos so far. If you haven't watched them, please watch them. With the New Testament, this translation takes the noun, translates it eon, and the adjective aeonian. It sounds much better in English than some of the other literal translations. But it's until he dies. Once he dies, he's freed. In the resurrection, he's not going to be a slave. So there is my first example. Okay, let's go to Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter 1 verse 22. And I will repeat, the concept of eternity is not discussed in the scriptures. There are things that will not end. There's a verse, of his kingdom there will be no end. So yes, that won't end. Life won't end. Immortality, that won't end, no. But eternity as we are taught is not in the scriptures. So 1 Samuel 1:22, King James. Now let's talk about Samuel's mother, Hannah. She's dedicating him to God, so he will be in the temple. But Hannah went not up, for she said unto her husband, I will not go up until the child be weaned, and then I will bring him, that he may appear before the Lord, and there abide forever. It's the same word, same translation in the King James. Let me look at the International Standard. They translate it the same way. Hannah did not go up. Now remember, the International Standard Version translated this word permanent a moment ago in Exodus 21:6. Here they translate it forever. Same word. Hannah did not go up because she had told her husband, "As soon as the child is weaned, I'll take him to appear in the Lord's presence and remain there forever." Okay, the wording was a bit confusing there, but they translate it forever, where they translated it permanent before. Now we know that Samuel died. Right now Samuel is figuratively sleeping, so he is not in the temple or he's not serving God. Olam. Jonah chapter 2 verse 6. The famous tale of Jonah and the giant fish. I think most when I was in church, they always said it was a whale that swallowed him. But I think the Hebrew word is actually a great fish. Let's see, Jonah 2:6. Alright, let's go to King James. Wait, Job. How did I get to Jonah? Good grief. I need to get on my game here. Job. Job was not swallowed by a great fish. It was Jonah. They kind of sound alike, though. Can you blame me? This is when Jonah's inside of the fish. So this is verse 6. King James. I went down to the bottoms of the mountains. The earth with her bars was about me forever. Olam, obscure. Yet hast thou brought up my life from corruption, O Lord my God. Okay, we know that Job was in the fish for 3 days. So we cannot say that this means permanent or eternal. Let's go to International Standard. I sank to the roots of the mountains. The earth's prison bars closed around me forever. Yet you resurrect the dead from the pit, Lord my God. So, forever again. But we know it was only 3 days. Here's my literal translation. I go down to the fashioning points of the mountains, the earth. Its bars are about me for the eon. Yet you will bring up my life from ruin, Yahweh my Elohim, for the eon. Here's something I just thought of. Did you know that, well, as far as I know, with the word ion, I'd have to look at the Hebrew, the instances of olam, but the word that's translated forever is actually in the plural in many places. Multiple eternities. That'll be my next video. Every time that the Greek word ion is used in the plural, or maybe olam, because it is used in the plural. And then I'll probably have to go into these different time periods in the Bible. And like I said, I've counted 5. So we get it that Jonah was in the fish for 3 days, but here it says olam, obscure. I guess if you're sitting in the fish, it would be obscure, beyond your horizon when you get out. Just like Jack Sparrow. Here is a wonderful example of an actual definition of the word olam in the book of Deuteronomy. (23) And this is verse 3. Deuteronomy 23:3. King James. This is talking about the Ammonites and the Moabites. They were restricted from going into Israel for a certain period of time. So verse 3 from the King James, an Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever. All right, that's from the King James. It said to the 10th generation, and then they're okay. But then they translated it forever at the end of the sentence. So if we take that as being permanent, then it completely nullifies the 10 generations thing. Let's look at the International Standard. No Ammonite or Moabite may participate in the assembly of the Lord, and none of their descendants shall be admitted to the assembly of the Lord to the 10th generation. They didn't even translate Olam in the International Standard. This is a paraphrase. This is not a translation. Now, these translations have been very useful to me. I'm not here to bash any particular translation or maybe a commentary. Not at all. But when someone doesn't do what they're supposed to do, a translator is supposed to translate. This is not translation here. And none of their descendants shall be admitted to the assembly of the Lord to the 10th generation. They obviously saw the issue with Olam, so they paraphrased it. Okay, let's just go to the literal. No Ammonite or Moabite shall come into the assembly of Yahweh. Even the 10th generation from them shall not come into the assembly of Yahweh for the eon. So it's obscurity. It's a long time. Now in this context, it's not so obscurity. He literally gave the exact time frame. Of course, how long is 10 generations? Is that I think a generation should be about 40 years, if I'm correct. That is a long time. That is beyond the horizon. All right, I have a couple more examples. Where are we at? 22 minutes, not bad. Let me just find one. I found a very good one. Yes. In Isaiah chapter 32. This one was the icing on the cake for me. I want to save it for last though, because it's too good. Let me I'm gonna go over two that have to do with mountains or hills. Keep in mind when we go over these two, one's in Genesis and one's in Habakkuk, keep in mind that the present earth that we're on is going to be done away with. In Revelation, there is a new heavens and a new earth. So everything around us right now is temporary. But here in Genesis 49, our word Olam, our good friend Olam shows up. King James. Now this is God talking to, was it Jacob? He's talking to somebody. No, that's not. Oh, I see what this is. Okay. I think this is Jacob speaking. Anyways. Verse 26. The blessings of thy father have prevailed above the blessings of my progenitors, unto the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him that was separate from his brethren. The everlasting hills. It's the word Olam. Again, the word that's been translated permanent, forever, hasn't been translated. We know that mountains and hills do endure until God wipes them out. And it's a good example. You look at a mountain, you think something ancient. It's obscure. In the obscure past, God formed that mountain. In the obscure future, beyond the horizon, he's going to destroy the mountain or the hill. Let's just go to the concordant version. See, blessings of your father and your mother, master are they over the blessings of my mountains, unto the yearning of the Aeonian hills. There's the adjective, Aeonian. Coming are they on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the governor of his brothers. And that was about a hill. The last one is a mountain, Habakkuk. If that's how you pronounce that. If that's not how you pronounce that, I'm sorry. Some of these prophets got weird names, and they did odd stuff. They were odd guys. I appreciate them though. Okay, King James, Habakkuk 3:6. He stood and measured the earth. He beheld and drove asunder the nations, and the everlasting mountains, Olam, were scattered. The perpetual hills. Wait a minute. Nope, I messed up because the word that the King James just translated everlasting is not even Olam. It's odd. That might be something I need to look at. Let me reread that. Sorry about it. He stood and measured the earth. He beheld and drove asunder the nations, and the everlasting mountains were scattered. The perpetual hills did bow. His ways are everlasting. Okay, so the word perpetual is Olam. That's Strong's number 5769. And then his ways are everlasting. That's the same word, 5769. So they took the word everlasting, which they always, well, this is the problem when you don't take one word and try to translate it uniformly if you can. Because this is a mess here. Let's look at the ISV. He stood up and shook the land. With his stare he startled the nations. The age-old mountains were shattered, and the ancient hilltops bowed down. His ways are eternal. So they translated Olam ancient, and then they translated it eternal. That doesn't make sense. Let us go to our literal translation. He stands and is measuring the earth. He sees and is letting loose the nations. And the mountain ranges of futurity are scattering. It's an odd translation, futurity. The Aeonian hills bow down. His goings are Aeonian. We know that the hills will disappear. There will be a new earth. But that was an interesting. There's some more stuff in that verse that is worthy of going over. But I don't want to go over 30 minutes if I can help it. I think I will. We'll do this one, and then we'll do one more and we'll be done. The complexity of that verse threw me off. I looked at it last night, and I did not realize there is a word that's closer to everlasting, but it's not. We'll get into it. There's something there. So Isaiah 44. Now this isn't talking about the future, it's talking about the past. So they say eternity has no beginning and no end. Isaiah 44:7. King James. And who, as I, shall call and shall declare it and set it in order for me, since I appointed the ancient people and the things that are coming and shall come, let them show unto them. So the ancient people, speaking of Israel, had a beginning. We know that Jacob was named Israel, and that the nation that came from him is Israel. But it had a beginning. It's the same word, olam. Let's go to can't talk. The ISV. Who is like me? Let him proclaim and declare it, and lay it out for himself. Since he made an ancient people, and let him speak future events, let them tell him what will happen. Yeah. So they translated ancient in the International Standard as well. This is the same word they translate eternal, olam. But we know that ancient has a beginning. And the literal. And who is as I, stand shall he, and call and tell it, and he shall arrange it for me, from my placing the Aeonian people, Israel. And the things arriving shall he say, and when they will come shall they tell you. Yeah. So Israel had a beginning. They would be forced to translate it eternal. And the last one, which is the icing I wanted to talk about. The reason this is the icing. Now, to the best of my knowledge, this is Isaiah chapter 32, verses 14 and 15. To the best of my knowledge, this is talking about Jerusalem. I read over, I think, 7 or 8 commentaries on Bible Hub over this. And they went out of their way to talk about the word olam in these verses, because they know that it cannot be translated forever. If you translate it forever, it actually denies the truth. So they said that according to context, like a word that has to do with time can change according to context. That's not right. If I said I have 10 minutes to finish this video, okay, I have 10 minutes left. But if I use the word 10 minutes in any other context, it still means 10 minutes. It's a time word. It cannot mean unending and limited at the same time. It's an impossibility. So 32. Wow, I just clicked on something. Okay. 32:14. King James. Alright, here's a description of Jerusalem. Because the palaces shall be forsaken, the multitude of the cities shall be left, the forts and towers shall be dens forever. Olam. A joy of wild asses, a pasture of flocks. And in verse 15, until the Spirit be poured upon us from on high, and the wilderness be a fruitful field, and the fruitful field be counted for a forest. So the forever is until the Spirit is poured upon us from on high. So either we need to understand that forever doesn't mean eternity, or we can translate it the same way and take the meaning as forever being eternal and deny the truth that the Spirit will come down eventually. The concordant translation, the last one, I promise you. Verse 14. For the citadel shall be abandoned, the throng of the city shall forsake it, the hump and lookout become caves in the future, till the eon, beyond the horizon, obscurity. He doesn't say exactly when it's going to happen, but he does tell you the outcome. Till the eon, an elation of wild asses. Oh God, wild donkeys. I'll say donkey. I feel like I just cursed. An elation of wild donkeys, a pasture for droves. Until emptied on us shall be the Spirit from the height. Then the wilderness will come to be for cropland, and the cropland for wildwood will be accounted. Okay, I'm at 35 minutes, so I gotta stop here. So, we have the word olam is the equivalent of the Greek word aion, and it doesn't mean eternal in any of its occurrences. Not one. Even when it relates to God himself, it does not mean eternal. I could go over that as well. I have to figure out what I want to talk about next time. Check out that last one. You can go through commentaries on Bible Hub. This word is just a time period. So I think I have gone over it as best I can. Thank you for watching, and yeah, that's all I got. All right, I'll see you next time.